You've already said it 3 times. Do your homework. Do your homework. Do your homework. And now you're standing in the doorway wondering, am I the problem? Is this just who they are? Is there a version of this where I don't feel like a broken record every single night? Yes, and that's what we're talking about today. I'm Jacquie Langworthy, and this is Raising Scholars. Welcome back to Raising Scholars. I'm Jacquie Langworthy, educator, learning center owner, and a mom who raised 2 confident, independent scholars. We've been building something together this season. The environment in episode 2, the routine in episode 3. Today, we deal with the thing that breaks both of them, the nag cycle. And before we get into it, I want to be upfront with you. I'm going to get personal in this episode because this is not something I figured out and left behind. This is something I'm still working on. And I think if I'm honest about that, it might free some of you to be honest with yourselves too. If you're a nagger, it's not because you're controlling, it's because you care. But caring and nagging are 2 different tools. Today, I'm going to show you the difference. Let me start somewhere most parenting advice doesn't start, with my own failure. I'm still working on this. My kids didn't do the dishes. I did them most of the time. I would walk in, see them sitting there, and just handle it. Because I didn't want to look at them. Because it was faster. Because I told myself it was just easier. My kids didn't walk the dog. I handled that too. When they forgot things at school, I drove it to them without even being asked. I was always scanning for the gap and filling it in before they could even feel the item was even missing. And here's the part I'm not proud of. With the dishes, I'm still not consistent. I still walk in sometimes and I just do them. And in those moments, I feel it. I feel like I'm holding the line that I know matters. That it's not a parenting win. That I'm choosing easy over what's right. But I did learn something with the dog. I stopped. And one day he had an accident in the house. My kids looked at me. And I looked back at them and I said, this is your responsibility. That dog needs to go out every single day, just like you do. And when I made them clean it up, no lecture, just the consequence. And we never had that conversation again. Same pattern, 2 different outcomes. Because one time I held the line and one time I did not. That is the nag cycle. Not just the reminders, the whole pattern of stepping in, filling the gap, doing the thing so we don't have to watch them not do it. And here's what I've learned. Nagging happens when we don't trust the system or when there's no system at all. When nothing is holding expectations in place, the parent becomes the structure. And being the structure is exhausting. There's something else going on too. Nagging is anxiety in action. We remind because we're afraid things won't get done. That fear is real. But here is what we don't see when we're in it. Every time we nag and the child eventually complies, we reinforce the cycle. They learn that the first ask doesn't matter. The real ask is the 4th one, when the voice is elevated. Then they learn to wait us out. And we learn that if we just push hard enough, it works. So we do it again and again until nagging is just how we communicate. And the painful part, we've trained them to tune us out. Not because they're disrespectful, because we taught them with love that our first ask is optional. Think about the last time you nagged your child into doing something. Did they do it well, or did they do it resentfully, halfway, just to get you off their back? That's not compliance. That's performance under duress. And it teaches nothing except how to wait for pressure to become unbearable. Every time you nag, you teach your child that the first ask doesn't count. Before I tell you what to do differently, I need to name the two fears that keep every parent stuck in this cycle. Because if we don't deal with those first, nothing else lands. Fear one, if I stop reminding, nothing will get done. This fear is valid, and here's where it's true. If nothing gets done without your reminders, the problem is not your child's motivation. The problem is the absence of structure that makes expectations clear and consequences real. We're going to build that structure in just a minute. Fear two, if I let things slide, I'm a bad parent. This is the guilt trap, and I need you to hear the distinction. There's a difference between letting things slide and letting natural consequences teach. One is giving up, the other is parenting on purpose. Letting things slide means I don't care if it gets done, I'm done. Letting natural consequences teach means I care deeply, which is exactly why I'm stepping back and letting reality be the teacher instead of my fourth reminder. Let's say your child forgets their homework. You could remind them 5 times and drive it to school. I've done this. Or you could let them face their teacher without it. Which one teaches more? Which one is the one that they will remember longer? And it's almost always the second one. There's a difference between letting things slide and letting natural consequences teach. One is giving up. The other is parenting on purpose. So how do we stop nagging without everything falling apart? Here's 5 steps. Step 1, set expectations once, in advance. Not in the moment when everyone is tired and emotions are running high. Before the week starts, sit down together and lay it out. Homework happens at 5 p.m. That is the agreement. The clock reminds you, not me. And here's what I've learned the hard way in my own home. There are non-negotiables, and there are battles not worth fighting. In our house, non-negotiables were things like homework before fun, always, no expectations. You want to go out? The work needs to get done first. I leveraged what they wanted with what they had to get done, and I put real consequences behind it. But I also had to learn which hills were not worth dying on. Because when you fight over everything, nothing feels important. Pick your non-negotiables, hold those firmly, let the rest go. Step 2, ask once, then be silent. One ask, clear, then stop. Not, did you do your homework? You need to do your homework. Go do your homework right now. Just, homework time, full stop, and walk away. The silence is intentional. It communicates something your fourth reminder never can. I trust you to handle this. Step 3, let the structure enforce, not you. When the environment is set, the routine is built, and the expectation is agreed upon, the parent doesn't have to enforce it. The structure does. Your role shifts from enforcer to observer. An observer is a much calmer job. If you haven't built the routine yet, go back to episodes 2 and 3. That's the foundation this step sits on. Step 4, let natural consequences do the work. When your child doesn't follow through, and at first they won't, resist the urge to rescue. A missed assignment, a conversation with the teacher, an uncomfortable moment. These are not emergencies. These are teachers. Natural consequences are not punishment. They are information, and information builds judgment. Step 5, reconnect without reviewing. After the consequence, don't lecture. Don't say, I told you so. Just reconnect. One question, how did that feel? What would you do differently? Then let it go. No debrief, no shame, forward only. Your job is not to make sure everything gets done. Your job is to build a child who makes sure everything gets done. I want to stop and get real with you for a second because I'm not talking about this in theory. This is happening in my house right now. My kids are in college and there's an application they need to complete, the DC tag, which is grant funding that they're entitled to as district residents. Real money, money that helps pay for school. And I've asked about it more than once. Here's the catch every parent eventually faces. Do I keep pushing and rob them of ownership? Or do I step back and risk them missing something that matters? They're 18 and 19. This is not my application to complete. It's theirs. So I had one clear conversation. I explained that this is funding you're entitled to. The deadline is coming, and I'm not going to keep reminding you. This is yours to handle. And if it doesn't get done, you will feel that consequence directly. And then I had to let it go. That is the hardest thing I've asked myself to do as a parent. Not because I don't care, because I care so much that stepping back feels like failing. But here's what I know. Everything that I've taught in this podcast, in my center, in my own home, is pointing towards this moment. The moment where they do it themselves, even when the stakes are high, especially when the stakes are high. So I'll ask you what I've been asking myself. When you nag, who are you really doing it for? Sit with that. Here's what I need you to know before we close. The system will break. Life happens. And when it does, don't abandon the structure. Pause it. Reset it. When the routine collapses, Sunday we reset. No drama, no guilt. When your child pushes back, respond, I hear you. Let's talk about it after homework is done. Do not negotiate in the moment. When the consequences feel too hard to watch, I want you to remember your discomfort in this moment is much smaller than their growth over time. You can feel it and still hold the line. And when you feel the pull to nag, remember to notice it and name it. When you say, I want to remind them, remember, you're not going to. Trust the system, then walk away. Think of yourself as a coach, not a manager. A coach sets the expectations, watches, and gives feedback. A manager hovers over every play. One builds a confident player, the other builds a child who can only perform when you're standing there watching. The goal isn't a child who does things because you remind them. The goal is a child who does things because they know it's their responsibility. Before I close, 3 things. 1, follow or subscribe wherever you're listening. New episodes every week. And the Sunday Reset drops every Sunday with one practical tip to help you build a confident, independent learner. 2, download the free Raise Scholar Framework Guide at raisingscholarspodcast.com. The A pillar and the S pillar, autonomy and systems, are everything we built today. The full guide, practical actions, is completely free. 3, share this episode. Text it to a parent who's exhausted from the nag cycle. Send it to your co-parent. Post it to your group chat. If the DC tag story hit home or the dishes story made you wince because you have your own version of it, this episode is for someone in your life right now. Send it to them tonight. Here's your experiment this week. Pick one thing you currently nag about. Just one. Set the expectation before the week starts. Ask once when the time comes, and then be quiet. Let the structure hold it. Notice what happens. Notice what your child does in the space you give them. Remember, nagging comes from love, but so does letting go. The most powerful message you can send your child isn't, I'm watching you. It's I trust you. Start small. Start this week. I'm Jacquie Langworthy. Thank you for being here. I'll see you next week.